Hey everybody, Jessica here, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to use the new Watercolor Fantasies, the updated version for Adobe Illustrator. So before we start, make sure that you have your Actions panel showing, your Swatches panel showing, and also your Appearance panel showing. And if you don't see those, just go to Window and click on Actions, Appearance, and Swatches. So I have those up here. And I've got a sample document where I've got a couple vector shapes and some text, and I'm going to show you how easy it is. So to begin with, you want to load up your actions, which I have my new ones right here. But if you don't have them loaded, on your actions panel, click on the top right and click load actions, and then find the actions that you downloaded. So I've got those loaded up, and the next thing that I'll want to do is get my VIP swatch, because for these actions you need to have this one swatch loaded up here in your swatch panel, and it can't be a free-floating swatch either. You need to have it actually here. So I'm going to show you how. Excuse that. So I have my swatches panel open. I'm going to click here and click open swatch library, other library, and I'm going to go navigate to where I have my files, and let's find them here. And this is the one we want, VIP Load and Swatch Panel. So I'm going to click open, and it's going to pop out in a free-floating library. But we need to make sure we click on this so that it goes over here, or you can drag it. So I'm done with that, and that's the one that I need for my actions. Now I'm going to go here, and I'm going to load some more swatches. I'm going to load one of my collections. So you can also load it here at the bottom right. I'm going to click, or bottom left, I'm going to click Other Library. And again, I'm going to go to my folder, the collections, and I'll just load collection 1, which is swatches 1 through 13. And I'll click open, and that's going to have them in a free floating window, which is fine for me because those aren't necessary for the action. So I'll just pop that there. If you don't see them in a list like this, you can click on the top right and click, usually by default it'll be small thumbnail view. But as you can imagine, this is really hard for you to tell which one you want next if you want a specific one. So if you click here on the top right, you can click small list view. So that makes it really easy to select just the style you like. So I'm going to start off, and so I'm going to take this little flower here, total basic shape, and if you notice in your appearance panel, you'll see the appearance, of this. So you'll see the fill and you'll see a stroke if it has one. So I'm going to select this. And when I run my actions, it's good to select the fill layer, just touch it, because that way it'll put those new layers on top of that and your stroke won't be affected. So that's a good thing to do. So I always select my object, make sure it's touching the fill layer, and I'm simply going to run my instant watercolor action. So I'm going to press play, and it's going to give me this instant watercolor effect, and it's going to use the color that was already on there, which is really cool. So you can just go through here and just do the same thing, and you can just like watercolor out your styles, your objects. And what's really cool is once you have that selected, you see this appearance panel. If you don't use it a lot, it's really useful, and it's like a little mini layers panel. So you see here at the bottom we've got our color, and on top with a luminosity setting I've got my pattern. So that way it uses the color, and if you want to change the color, you simply go on the color layer here, fill, and you can change it to any color that you want. And same thing here, if you want to change the style, you touch that fill layer that's got the pattern, and then I can go through here and check out all these cool different styles. And it just makes it super easy. So same thing here. You can grab just make sure it's on the pattern layer here, and just check out all these different styles. And that's really fun. So it's just a matter of just touching them and it'll change. And then you can change the color, of course, at any time if you want to change it up a little bit or whatever. So that is how easy it is to use the basic actions. That's instant watercolor. And now there's also an action that works exactly the same way, which is instant watercolor light, where it does the same thing. I'm going to just touch my fill layer, press play, instant watercolor light, and it makes it lighter. What it does is it puts that pattern on a screen so that makes it just like lighter. And then, you know, of course, you can change your color anytime you want. Double click on that. But it's just going to be a bit lighter. So some things, you know, you might want that really light look. You don't want, you know, like a really intense color. So that's really useful. And then the other one that I'm going to show you is the light but more control action. Now this is actually really good. Here, I'll just use it on this little leaf here. If I do that, I just touch my fill layer and run the action the same. But if you notice, it changes the color, which there's no real way around that. You'll just have to put the color back on whatever color you want. But what this did was this made 3 layers on that object. So on the bottom is the intensity layer, the middle layer is the pattern layer, and then the top is the color. So I can go through here and change it to whatever color I want. So that you can, and this is really good for those light styles that you like. But what's cool is, you know, you can change the color at the top, you can change the style in the middle, just take that and select whatever one you like. But at the bottom is really where it's useful because this is the intensity. And if you double click, or you're touching this layer, double click your thing, and you'll see it's like a gray intensity. Well, you could scoot this up or down, and it will make the intensity lighter. Or if you scoot it down here towards the bottom, it'll make the intensity darker. And what's cool is a lot of times you should have like as default, you know, grays and stuff. So you can just simply have this layer selected, and for the bottom intensity, you can just put different grays, and the lighter color of gray you get, you're going to have a lighter intensity. Or if you want it darker, you can have use the ones that are like black or gray, dark gray. So that's just how you could control that. Again, it's like giving you more options, but you don't have to use them if you're not that familiar with them, or you're like a little bit intimidated with Illustrator. But what this is a series of like raster patterns, and you're simply placing them over your layer, your color layer, and you're changing the blend mode to luminosity so that your color shines through. So it's really quite simple. But it's really a lot more useful for your workflow to do that than just to say put some pre-colored watercolor, you know, styles on there, and then you've got to change the color and everything. So with this, you have so many different like watercolor styles, but I just simply play my action and add some watercolor on top, and then I can just sit here and I can just change all the different styles really easy, and it still uses that color that you have. So it's really nice. You got some really fantastic styles, and with the new options, it'll give you options to make them very light, which is nice for watercolors because a lot of times you're wanting it to be like very light kind of a look. So that's that. And then the only other thing that I want to show you is working with a type. If you select some type here, or select it like this, you select some type with this tool here, you're going to not see any fill. You see a fill here, but you don't see it in your appearance panel. So basically, when you're applying these styles to type, you want to add one more step, which is prep type for action. So I simply press play, and it adds a fill layer. And now I could take this fill layer, let me pick a nice color like that. Now I'm ready to go and run my watercolor action. So now I just click instant watercolor, and bam, adds that watercolor action, which is really cool. So it's just one extra step that you have to remember to do when you're doing type so that you can change it. But now you'll notice that this text is still completely live. I can change the color at any time, of course. Right here, fill, I can make it any color. Select this fill layer with a pattern. I can change up all the different patterns, have so much fun with that. So super cool, super useful. And of course, with the watercolor thing, you see how I have my fill at luminosity. This is the regular style, but you can always change your opacity. You don't have to run the action again if you want it light or the other way around. You can simply change the opacity from luminosity to screen, and that gives you that really lighter effect. So even though I gave you two different actions, you can, go back and forth. Like let's see, I'll clear the appearance here. Got this in a bright kind of pink. Add a little, let's make it just a little bit darker. So I've got this cool, magenta or something. Well, I can run my action, instant watercolor light, play. Okay, gives it a really like light color. But if I want to change that to more intense, all I simply do is select that pattern layer on the opacity, change it to luminosity, and that's how easy it is. So it's really just, the actions let you just do something really fast, but it's just taking your color, putting that pattern on top, and changing the blend mode. So it's really neat, really versatile, and super easy. And you can also, lastly, if I have this thing selected, I can intensify my color or texture, so I could press play and let's see here, oops. I think I did something a little bit wrong, but I'm just going to clear out the blend mode, make it a color. Let's run my watercolor here. Oh, and I have to prep my type for actions. There we go. So let's take that. Let's make it a pink. We'll put our watercolor on. Let's put it on regular. Now you can press play to intensify your color. And basically this just adds another layer over it with an overlay blend mode of black. It adds a black layer. So in case you need a real intense kind of color, you can use that action to just do that for you. So everything's just automated, something that you would do before. And of course it's still live. You can still check, change your patterns. And not only that, you can change this opacity. So if you don't want it quite so intense, you can just change it down a little bit. But that's really cool. And this whole system just lets you get, just the right kind of intensity with these same patterns from very light to very intense, which is really super cool. So I hope you enjoy working with it. Send me a direct message if you have any problems or anything. And I hope you guys get to enjoy it and make lots of good stuff with it.